Representative McDermott,
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I stand in strong support.
please proceed.
I'd like permission to insert comments in the journal as well.
So ordered.
I'm not going to speak very long, but I'd like to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for bringing transportation equity to the West Side. You were faced with a very complicated situation, Mr. Speaker. A lot of challenges. It wasn't an ideal situation. A lot of noise. Theft, fraud, abuse, Korean businessmen. Oh, my head is spinning. Yet I see no evidence of a $100 bribe. Nothing has been brought to our attention. We have a project. We're over budget. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Mr. Speaker, there is a learning curve. Biggest project we ever built maybe is a bridge over the Kalihi Stream. This is huge. I'd like to point out that H3, by the time it was finished, was 17 times the original cost. 17 times the original cost. So there's a learning curve to this. But Mr. Speaker, when you make a mistake up here, or when I think you're wrong, I hammer the heck out of you, and you know that. I've been doing it for quite some time. But I want to salute you and your team, because you took a tough situation and you governed. You governed. It's easy to say, oh, no. I come from a party where 85% of my members don't want this, which makes me about as popular as a dirty sock in your Caesar salad at a Republican event. But the people on the West Side do want it. And when I see these people out there with a sign that says, no more, no more. Okay, so I sit down and talk to them. What is your solution? Oh, just no more, that's it. The city got to get their act together. Got to get their act together. Well, what does that mean? They got to just get their act together. Okay, well, we're 3/4 of the way done. What do we do? Well, no more. Okay, so I asked LRB, what's it going to cost to shut it down? Legislative Reference Bureau, or CBO, right? Nonpartisan, non-biased. $3.7 billion to tear it down and do away with all the encumbrance. And that data will be inserted in the journal, that report from LRB. $3.7 billion if we do nothing. $3.7 billion to do nothing. So we have to do something. And the majority did something. And I salute you guys for doing that. I've never voted for tax or fees. You know that, Mr. Speaker. But this thing, I can see it. I can see the concrete. I can see what we're building. I can feel it. I can touch it. And some people say it's ugly. Well, you know what? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And out on the West Side, it's not ugly. One of the things I want to point out, Mr. Speaker, was the lawsuits. We have a very prominent attorney running around town accusing the city of fraud. Now, he's an attorney. He's an officer of the court. He says, oh, it's fraud. It's fraud. Why? Well, they're behind schedule and over budget. These lawsuits cost the city $6 million in direct legal costs. Again, this is from LRB. I asked them, how much did these lawsuits cost? $6 million in direct legal costs. They halted all work and property acquisition for 13 months. It's from the LRB report, 13 months. And as a result, resulted in $172 million in additional rail project costs. So the same guy running around saying the city's behind, over budget, behind schedule, is the same guy suing them, caused them to be over budget and behind schedule. That has been a real a thorn in my shoe when I see these guys get on TV and they talk about fraud and waste and abuse. Mr. Speaker, I sent the governor a letter in June asking for an audit.
Mr. Speaker, I yield my time.
Oh, thank
you.
Professor, I am humbled, sir. To extend the GET for 10 years to order a comprehensive financial audit. Things you guys are doing, you're auditing. establish accountability incentive plan for contractors, market ancillary development rights, things that you guys are already doing. The point is, Mr. Speaker, I think you've taken the best that you could. It's not perfect. Nobody wants to see the TAT raised. Nobody wants to see the GET extended. But you governed, Mr. Speaker. You governed. You stood up and you governed, and you did it right. And from one of your biggest critics for over the years, and you know that, Mr. Speaker, we're smiling at each other, I want to salute you and tell you you guys did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative